Chris Sewall here, baseball card collector, investor, dealer, in that order. Welcome, everyone. A couple weeks ago, I asked everyone to submit their Holy Grail stories, whether a card they had or did not have, but a Holy Grail card that they were either chasing or somehow got. About 30 of you sent in your stories. Really thank you, everyone, for everyone submitting. I picked 12 here. 30 is a little too much for video, but I picked 12 here, and we're going to run through them one at a time. And yeah, check out some really cool Holy Grail stories from around the hobby. First one sent in by Farron, who wrote, "My Holy Grail is the 1978 Mexican Pacific League stickers number 142, Ricky Henderson pre-rookie. I've been collecting Ricky Henderson cards for decades. At first I was just happy to get a 1984 donruss that wasn't off-centered. I still love that card, but as I got more serious, the 1980 Topps rookie card in an unopened cello pack became intriguing. Then I bought a one-of-one Tools of the Trade 4-patch auto on eBay, and the seller threw in a collection of 500 unique Ricky Henderson cards for free. That blew me away, so I lost interest in serial numbered cards, but I started to wonder what it would take to put together every card of Ricky Henderson during his playing days, and I've been piecing together unique cards of his ever since. I found the trading card database online a few years ago and realized I'm not as close as I thought, but that's when I saw it. The Holy Grail of Ricky Henderson cards, a 1978 Mexican Pacific League stickers number 142. I'd never seen anything like it or heard of it, nor can I find for sale anywhere, nor in grading company databases. Ricky played winter ball for the Mayos de Navoja of the Liga Mexicana del Pacifico, and the sticker is the only known photo of him in that uniform. Turns out that Dave Stewart is in that set too, which I also love. Ricky Henderson remains the greatest player of all time. No one scored more runs, not Ty Cobb, not Barry Bonds, nobody." Next one was sent in by Jim, who wrote, "My Holy Grail submission isn't the most valuable card out there, but it comes with a good deal of sentimental value. I'm a lifelong diehard Cleveland sports fan. The emotional pain that Cleveland sports fans have endured is well documented. Between Red Right 88, the drive, the fumble, the shot, Jose Mesa, Bottlegate, the Red Sox coming back down 3-1 in 2007, and the decision, it seems like Clevelanders have suffered every kind of sports fan calamity imaginable. But all that suffering ended in 2016 when the Cleveland Cavaliers completed their own historic 3-1 comeback, which brings me to my Grail card. In 2016, I was fortunate enough to attend Game 6 of the NBA Finals when the Cavaliers beat the Golden State Warriors to force the series to return to Oakland for Game 7. Given what ultimately happened in the series, I believe that game is the most significant modern Cleveland sports event, and when I learned that Panini released an instant card commemorating that specific game, numbered to only 120 copies, I had to have it. I've included a picture of my graded copy of this card along with the ticket stub from that game, which I also had graded a few years ago." This one was sent by Chambers, who wrote, "I have to say that getting back into the hobby in 2020, like so many others, I took to Panini over Topps for the most part. I liked Panini's designs and the cards and didn't really care that they didn't have the license. I also liked that I could chase my childhood hero, Nolan Ryan, with more updated modern shine alongside my new PC, Juan Soto. I'm an avid collector of Soto and Ryan, and adding the below card to me was a top 5. There are not many autos from 2018 or pre-rookie Superfractors 101, gold vinyl for Panini autos for Soto. PSA owns the infamous auto-altering Bowman Chrome Superfractor from 2016, which for me and most hobbyists is the ultimate Grail set card for Juan Soto and modern players. I'm so happy to have this in my collection and will continue to enjoy the hobby, which has changed so much from the early 90s. I was born in DC, and Soto was a huge part of bringing the first World Series home to the district. This Grail card for me will also be going to Tag to save it from this painful and dulled slab that BGS puts out to the collecting community." Next one was sent by Matt, who wrote, "I present for consideration the 1962 Topps card number 139, Babe Hits 60. In the grand scheme of the collecting world, everyone knows the Babe, or at least a young kid collecting in the junk wax era of the 80s. I certainly should have known the Babe. So turning back the clock, it was the era of Canseco, McGuire, Greenwell, or a shortstop in Baltimore that young kids eyed. But as one of my friends brokered a deal to loot my Canseco and McGuire cards from my sealed set of 1988 Topps that I had received for a birthday gift, he offered up this Mr. Ruth. I had never thought to own a card 15 years pre my birth, but something about the photo captured me, and with much chagrin I handed over the 7-for-1 deal, and I never looked back. It was carried in my pocket the rest of that summer day in a penny sleeve, and wouldn't you know it, one could imagine a card that is now over 60 years old is clearly looking like something a truck running over couldn't damage any further. Regardless, as I had thought as an adult to grade or at least authenticate via PSA to protect the memory, a new penny sleeve and top loader keeps the memories alive, not just for the Babe, but to my childhood friend Robbie, who is long since passed. This is my Grail." So the past lives on in card deal, where at the time I lost the Bash Brothers and got a forever memory of the Babe. In the end, isn't that what a true collector of cards really wants? This was sent by Simon, who wrote, "The Holy Grail I'm looking for is a 1985 OPC Mario Lemieux SGC 6.5. Why this card is so important to me? Well, Mario Lemieux was my favorite player growing up. I use number 65 as my jersey number for all sports I play and as a tribute to him, because I could never live up to wearing number 66. As a result, I'm trying to collect the 6.5 graded rainbow with a 6.5 from PSA, BGS, and SGC. I found the PSA and the BGS versions, but not the SGC 6.5. I couldn't find it at the National this year, nor at the Toronto Sport Card Expo. My fear is that it's just a Pop 23, and many may have been cracked out and submitted to PSA. Hopefully one of your viewers has a lead. If not, I'd like to borrow that time machine when it gets delivered to you. Attached are photos of my PSA and BGS 6.5s and me wearing number 65 while playing sports." And we actually have two Satchel Paige Holy Grail cards. The first was sent by Jason, who wrote, "My Holy Grail is the 1949 Bowman Satchel Paige in a PSA 5. I have twin daughters who were born in 2011. We gave them the middle names of Robinson for Jackie and Paige for Satchel to honor two of the all-time greats who I wished I could have seen play. I collected cards as a kid from the late 80s and the early 90s, but a few months after my girls were born, I decided I want to get them each a rookie card of their namesakes. I found the 1949 PSA 5 Bowman Jackie Robinson on eBay that I had bid on just prior to going to bed one night. A few hours later, I had a sinking feeling in my stomach as I checked my phone during the late-night feeding to see that I had won the card for $600. What was I thinking? We had two newborns, and I never imagined spending so much money on a baseball card. It must have been my lack of sleep that made me make such a crazy bid. While I had buyer's remorse, this actually got me and my wife into collecting for about a year before the chaos of being new parents was just too overwhelming to keep collecting. Fast forward to 2020 and our daughters became huge baseball fans. They are now collectors and love opening packs and even understand the importance of vintage and always buy players from the 50s and 60s the 2 times per year we go to a card show. With the way prices are now, getting a 1949 Bowman PSA 5 Satchel Paige to match the Robinson I bought in 2011 is out of reach. While the return on the late night purchase has obviously paid off, I still have not paid more than $600 for a single baseball card since the purchase of that 1949 Robinson 12 years ago. In order to get my Holy Grail, I feel I will have to break that threshold at some point. And a second Satchel Paige Holy Grail card. This was sent in by Micah, who wrote, "I collected cards from 1999 to 2005, ages 9 to 15. Some of my favorite cards to collect were the last year Topps cards because they gave their career stats on the back, usually without the last season, and I was a big stats guy. I got back into card collecting in 2019, and I again gravitated toward final year Topps cards, as well as in-person autograph cards, as opposed to pack inserted, and cards of the Hall of Fame baseball players born in my home state of Alabama. Within the last year, I decided to make the cornerstone of my collection a combination of all three: autographed final year cards of every Hall of Famer born in Alabama. My favorite player of all time is the legend from Mobile, Alabama, Satchel Paige, and a couple of years back I was able to pick up Satchel's final and only Topps card from 1953, autographed and authenticated by PSA. This is my favorite card in my whole collection. Thank you for the opportunity to share in the joy of collecting." This one was sent in by my man Shane, who wrote, "This year I got one of my Holy Grail cards. I picked it's of my favorite player, Cal Ripken. The card is the 1980 Charlotte O's minor league orange border Ripken. It's his rarest minor league card, and most of them out there are in terrible condition. The orange border team set was issued to Charlotte Police Department, and they took them into elementary schools as part of their DARE program, the Say No to Drugs program in Charlotte schools. Of course, being given to 8 to 10-year-old kids, most of them got thrown away, lost, or damaged severely. I wish I knew how many sets were made, but there are only 34 legit created copies out there, 30 by PSA and 4 by Beckett. It was a very long shot that I got mine. I just borrowed money to buy cards at the National. It just so happened that a PSA 5 popped up on Heritage Auctions. I had the money, so I hoped a miracle would happen and I would get it. I had the winning bid inside 30 minutes left, but of course, it had several last-minute bids, and it sold for over $17,000, counting the buyer's premium. So I posted in a buy-sell Facebook group that I'm in that I was looking for it, and then to my surprise, I got a response from a guy that a friend had it. He wasn't a collector, so his friend told him to get it graded. He had lived in Charlotte all his life, and he was one of those blessed 8-year-olds that had gotten it in school. Pretty cool, huh? I only live 45 minutes away from Charlotte, another long shot, so a few days later, me and my best friend meet him halfway, and we completed the transaction. Next one was sent in by Jonathan, who wrote, "Like you, I grew up in the DC metro area idolizing Cal Ripken. I'm a huge Nats fan since 2005, but my absolute idol as a kid, though, was Bo Jackson. I was 8 when the Bo Knows campaign kicked off. My last name starts with Bo, and my Little League nickname was J-Bo, thanks to some speed and power talent. Long story short, I had been scoping for a Bo 1986 Topps traded Tiffany for about 5 years in a PSA 10, which is just a Pop 37, and I always really wanted the one with the Dimitri Young pedigree. Finally, it went up for sale, and it is mine. I'm number 5 on the Bo Jackson master set list at the moment, but I am aiming for number 1. This was sent by Jeremy, who wrote, in 1995, I became a big fan of the Twins and rookie Marty Cordova. I live in Minnesota and love our Twins. I was in a card shop in 1995 when another customer opened a pack of 1995 Upper Deck and got the silver electric diamond Marty Cordova. He didn't want it and he gave it to me. I already had the base card and now I needed the gold electric diamond to complete the 3-card set. That was much easier said than done. Over the next 2 to 3 years, my roommate and I spent many hours and put on many miles driving to different card shows and card stores, hoping to find him looking for any Jose Canseco's he didn't have, and me looking for that Marty Cordova card. I wasn't able to find it, but I enjoyed picking up numerous other cards of Marty Cordova that I didn't have. He was a hot local player at the time, and his cards were not in short supply. I know I spent many hundreds, if not thousands of dollars on my collection of over 250 different Marty Cordova cards. Like many others, I lost interest in collecting as I got older, got married, and had kids. However, over the next years and decades, I would occasionally take a casual look on eBay for the 1995 Upper Deck Gold Electric Diamond. In 2019, I found one listed. During my feverish search in the 90s, I would have paid hundreds of dollars for that card. I don't remember the price it was listed for on eBay, but I'm certain it was probably under $10 after shipping. So after nearly 2.5 decades, I finally owned my Holy Grail. The card is important to me because it reminds me of my carefree and irresponsible life in my early 20s, along with the many memories of road trips and with Jamie, aka Gomer, going to card shops and shows as often as we could. I'm not a person who holds on to many things. I hate clutter and I'm not very sentimental, so it doesn't bother me to sell, throw, and donate stuff to get rid of it. But I still have every one of those Marty Cordova cards and I can't see myself ever parting with them. This was sent by James, who wrote, I am an avid Ryan Zimmerman collector. My father was lucky enough to see his very first Major League home run in person, and I was lucky enough to see his very last home run in person. Besides a single Darryl Strawberry card, Zimmerman is my entire collection. I've been working on his entire xfractor checklist and came across this listing on eBay, his 2006 Bowman Rookie Auto 1 of 1. The seller is asking way too much in my opinion, but if I was a rich man, then I would snag this up in a heartbeat. And I'll finish on this one sent by Corey, who wrote, I'm submitting my Holy Grail card. It is a 2003 Grandstand Cards Corey Blackman. This card is of me. Obviously, this card means nothing to anyone outside of my family, but for me, it was the culmination of a lifetime of work at the time, and to my children, it is proof that following your dreams is not a fairy tale. I was older when I signed with the Braves organization and only lasted a year, so this ended up being my only card. Having been a baseball card kid in the late 80s and early 90s, having my own baseball card was absolutely surreal. We got to choose from a few images to be used on the card, and my only regret was choosing our Turn Back the Clock jersey for my card instead of the traditional Braves jersey we normally wore. I joke around that I should send this card in to be graded and take advantage of the fact that it would be a 1 of 1 pop count. But that's it. Thank you everyone for watching, and really thank you everyone for all your great submissions and sharing all your great stories. Really appreciate it. I had a whole lot of fun reading through them all, and yeah, hope everyone enjoyed this as much as I did. Thanks everyone.